I would like to thank everyone for coming. My name is Michael Owens. I'm the mayor of Mableton, Georgia. And thank you all for coming out. Today was a very important day. It's a meeting that we had, as I called, specifically to be able to talk about public safety issues that relate to the Six Flags area, part of Mableton, Georgia, and southern part of Cobb County. As you all know, there was an incident that occurred back on March 2nd where the opening day of Six Flags, where there was an incident that occurred with led to a young man getting shot, but also an overabundance of hundreds of kids, teenagers within the park, leading to other issues that we had during that day and that evening. But this meeting today is really about coming together with business leadership, with the city of Mableton, with the county, and resources to talk about challenges that we have, to face them head on, and to talk about what we're going to do going forward. As I mentioned before, it's paramount that we have safety within our area, that we look to make sure that this combination of everyone is about making sure that our children, our families, our employees, our visitors, and our residents are safe in the city. That's something we've talked about before, but I wanted to make sure that we call this meeting specifically to be able to have a roundtable to talk about these issues. As you can see, there's several members here today that represent some of the people we have within our meeting, but I do want to assure everyone that we have an overwhelming outcome of people to show up because they really care about the city, about the community, and about the public safety. Some of those were our 911 responders. We had members from our emergency management agency that was here. Our fire chief, Bill Johnson, was here. Our again, Cobb County 911. We also had several significant members of the community itself. As you see right now, we are in the epicenter, the Riverside epicenter, who has prominent membership or in this area to make sure that they're members of the community. We also have members of Six Flags, Greg Fuller, who will be the new president of Six Flags, who was also a part of the meeting today, the Sheriff's Office, and a host of others. Delighted that our state representative was here to be part of these conversations today. I'm going to make this really simple. What we intend to do is ensure the safety of our community, not only because of this one incident, but ensure that we're looking forward as we, as a new city, grow in influence, as we grow in ensuring that we have a city that everyone can be proud of and feel safe in. We want to take this momentous approach to move forward. And so I don't want to take up much any more time. I want to make sure we leave opportunities for questions. But as I said before, the solution of this is a collaborative event. It's going to be a collaboration moving forward of all the different entities that we have in this county and this city. And with that said, I'd like to turn it over to our county commissioner for this district, Ms. Monique Sheffield.
Thank you all for attending today. To echo some of the points that the mayor made, it was a very, very productive meeting. As we know, there's always challenges at Six Flags, particularly on 2 weekends, and that's the opening weekend and also Fright Night. For the last several years, when I assumed office in 2021, the numbers have been going down dramatically. Our public safety, which is standing right behind me and we'll probably hear from them, we meet very regularly to discuss challenges and issues, not just at Six Flags Park, but some of the challenge from the park that floods into the apartment community along Riverside Parkway. There were a lot of recommendations made today. We are very encouraged about the partnership that we have here today. Thank you, Mayor, for calling all of us together to have this very important meeting. As he mentioned, the overall goal is the safety of the community. Six Flags is a park and a recreation area where families want to feel safe. And it's our job as Cobb County leadership to ensure that families are safe when they visit our park. There are a lot of good recommendations, again, that were made in the meeting, none at which I am at liberty to share at this point because we're still collaborating. But the city has the county's full support, as you can see in back of me, also the resources. We will continue to work together as a partner to ensure the safety of our community. Thank you.
And I also will echo, I really appreciate you getting the meeting together because, you know, you've heard the word several times today, partnership, and it truly is. what it takes in order to address issues like we've seen a couple of weeks ago, the mayor has spoken of. But it's an ongoing partnership. It's a holistic partnership, and it's not just a law enforcement thing. It's not just a community thing, but it's a partnership where we were talking about specifically this area in Six Flags today, and we had representatives from Six Flags there. And, we're very enthused to have the partnership that Six Flags is bringing to the table to help us from public safety address some of the issues. And I think you're going to hear from the sheriff and from the chief of police in a few moments. And I just want to say thank you to all the public safety partners, the city of Mableton, and all the representatives from the community here, because as you know, we can't do it alone. We have to do it together. So thank you. And I think Sheriff Owens is next.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sheriff Owens. As everyone kind of stated, that this was a great meeting about partnership and collaboration for the future, and really about keeping the city of Mableton and South Cobb safe. We all have the same goal, same mindset, is provide protection to our citizens. And today, I think that was just the first step in ensuring that we're doing that collectively. And so I want to make sure that you understand that the Sheriff's Office is sure that we will be partnering with the police department and any other agency that's down here that need any assistance going forward to ensure that the park itself is safe, as well as South Cobb and the city of Mableton going forward. Thank you.
My name is Stuart Van Hooser. I'm the police chief of Cobb County, and I thank you all for coming and helping us in actually communicating with our community about the challenges that we have and some victories that we've had as well. I'd like to really start with a little bit of history and just say that we are not incident driven. We are not reactive. We are very, very proactive. We are ahead of these issues before they occur. That doesn't stop them from occurring. So sometimes it looks a little retrospective, but we do some very creative things in various regions of our county that we find to be very integral to the success of the county, and this is one of them. And we have used a host of different methods of keeping people safe. We use data, we use technology, but I think the very biggest one that we use is community policing. And what that means is partnering with our community to actually keep people safer. It's more than just pictures on Facebook. It's more than cookies with the cop. It's actually making people safer together with our community. We have a long track record of doing that in various areas of our county. I want to commend both the employees of the Cobb County Police Department, the men and women that were out here last Saturday night when all this happened, because it's a very, very, very dangerous situation to be in with that number of people and with multiple armed individuals. And I want to commend them and thank them, as I normally do in situations where we're called together on an occasion like this, like we did a few weeks ago when we had another incident in Cobb County. But the men and women that protect us, we have to protect as well. And so as we're looking forward, the many things that we talked about today, with not only with Six Flags, but with fire, with 911, with EMA, with the various aspects of public safety, with the sheriff, all those things are designed to make our community safer. Our community includes our police officers. And so I'm very honored to be a small part of that. I will commend Major Hurst, Matt Hurst, who I think is still in here, who is the commander currently. He's the commander currently of Precinct 2, which is the precinct that covers this area. I was a former commander here, so was the sheriff. And we really stress more than anything that cooperative efforts with our community, which we are now displaying, is the key to a safer community. And so we're excited to partner, and we're at the service of not only Six Flags, but also the community members who reside and visit in this area to make sure that those everything that we can do is done. So thank you for your time.
We talk a lot down at the state legislature about Georgia being a place for business, the best place for business. Well, Six Flags is a big part of that. Six Flags is the largest employer of young people in the state. So the viability and the success of Six Flags has always been important, not only to the new city of Mableton, but the Cobb County, and yes, the state. My presence here was to relay that. I also live in Mableton. And so I have a keen interest in making sure that we're successful, and Six Flags is a key part of that. There were no less, I can say, there were no less than 25 people that attended the meeting today. And I think that's a testament to how many people in the community in Cobb County really, really care. That incident was unfortunate. Things are taking place to try to make sure that does not happen again. And as most of you know, the kids that were involved in that were not from this area. They were not from Mableton. So again, that's why I was here, and I'm very happy to hear what's going on today and what's coming in the future. And I want to welcome Greg back to Six Flags and to the Mableton area. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. So if you've heard from several of our esteemed leaders from at our state level, county level, our sheriff and our public safety officers, we are fully committed. We've took time today to recommit ourselves to the future of having enhanced safety apparatuses and a goal of making sure everyone is safe in the city. Six Flags is a very important part of our city, very important part of our community. So is the Epicenter. But there's also a lot of residents that live in this area that's reached out to me over the last week or so to express their concern, but also their optimism. Because one of the things that we look forward to as a city is how we can grow this part of the city into a vivacious, ever-living part that people can come to, whether they go to Six Flags or not. This Epicenter right here, this building that we're in, is a fantastic facility that has a bowling alley, a auditorium, always hosting different events for the community. Every year there's a trunk and treat operation that brings out hundreds, if not thousands, of kids to this area. There's lots of apartments and residential communities that dot this area that we want to make sure we attend to them as well. So again, this is not the first meeting this is not the last meeting we're going to have. And in truth, it's not the first meeting that we've had. But it was important to let everyone know that we're having this meeting. We'll continue to have meetings going forward because we understand there's not a silver bullet. There's not a single solution to this. But together, collaboratively, we can impact change and we can make the Six Flags area, make Mableton and Cobb County a very hospitable, loving place that everyone wants to continue to visit, play, work, and thrive in. So with that being said, I would like to open the floor for any questions that may be out there.
Mayor, can you discuss anything that was discussed in that meeting? That I know you can't give away, what your plans are, but can you discuss some of it?
Absolutely. So from an overview of the meeting, it was really about several different parts of that meeting. One was obviously talking about what brought us to this moment, what led up to the incident at Six Flags, but also taking a further retrospective look. The police chief was able to talk about issues and incidents that's occurred over the last several years, and also things that we've done as a community and as law enforcement and business owners in the area to prepare for opening day, which the incident occurred on. So there was a talk about current status, current assessment of what's been done, what led us to this point. There was also discussions about lessons learned. We want to make sure we look at this holistically and do whatever analysis that the law enforcement have done to understand what lessons are we taking away, not just from the police department, but also from our business owners in the area, how they've been able to work with on-duty and off-duty officers to increase presence. We then took a look at what are those things we're going to do as far as pathway forwards. What are those ideas? What are those solutions? That's the reason why we had so many people at that meeting. I actually think the representative said 25, I would dare say it was closer to 50 people from all different areas that were able to come together and put their ideas on the table. So today was about discussion about how we got here, but much more of the discussion was about what do we do going forward. We also looked at the situation that kind of led up this, the impact that it's having, but also the fact that I think the representative mentioned that, and the police have corroborated the fact that many of those people that was involved in the incidents were not from Mableton. As a matter of fact, many of them were not from Cobb County at all. So we have to kind of widen our aperture when we're looking for solutions about things that we can potentially do by having a better understanding of the event itself, but also issues that's been happening. And I talked about some of the adjacent impact that's having, the spillage, if you will, over to our residential areas, to other businesses that exist in the area, so we can ensure that we're not being myopic when we look for not only problems, but when we look for solutions. And lastly, we talked about pathways forward. We talked about the opportunities of what some of those security measures should be put in place. We've talked about distinct or specific issues that we have remedies and solutions for. And look, some of these are going to be tried and true methods that we know exist, but there are also going to be things that are innovative. New things that I'm sure that the chief and others will talk about, using new technology that we want to bring to the forefront that are being used in other areas that we can bring into this area to help make sure it's more secure for everyone. We talked about what we can do to ensure that as we go forward, we continue to have an image and a perception of this area that's not tainted by a single event. You know, my family comes to Six Flags a lot. My children come. My mother loves to come to Six Flags, and she will continue to. She just renewed her membership and will continue to come. I continue to plan on going every chance I get. I think I was at the latest opening of the new roller coaster just a couple of months ago that myself, Holly Quinlan from Cobb Tourism attended, and we had a fantastic time. So, you know, we're not going to be defined by one or two incidents that's unfortunate incidents that occurred. And I think this was kind of the discussion throughout the time that we had over another room about how we were going to go forward past this. So we did talk, again, about the history and what led up to this, but a lot of the discussions were about pathways forward and things that we can do to be all-encompassing. Larry?
This probably is more for public safety people, but I was just wondering, what kind of tried and true things are there for dealing with a spontaneous incident involving hundreds of people? Is that a usual occurrence in any jurisdiction, and what can you do?
Well, I think, you know, in Cobb County, we have a lot of experience dealing with high occupancy events like the Battery, the Braves. And in situations like this, we have protocols in place where we respond. Of course, every incident is different, but having that unified and that cohesive and collaborative response is really what saves lives, what keeps the community safe. And with each incident, we go back and we do an after-action report on that incident to see what we did good and what we could do better. And this incident is no different from that. You know, prior to opening day at Six Flags, public safety had many meetings with each other and with our partners in this area, to include Six Flags, trying to prepare. And there was several things that we did differently this year that we didn't do in the past. But those things are driven sometimes by newer technology and ways to handle various situations. But after the incident occurred, the week right after the incident, I know public safety had at least 5 to 6 meetings pertaining to that night, so we could critique that night and prepare for the next weekend, which was this past Saturday and Sunday, and we had a great turnout, no issues. So it is always a work in progress. We can't have contingencies for everything, but what we can do is have response protocols that we can adjust as the situation dictates.
Sir, Rob DiRienzo with Fox 5. I'm curious if you can pinpoint any specific solutions. It seems like we've heard a lot of vague terms like collaboration and productive, but what exactly have you pinpointed immediately that can make this place safer for people and their families?
So I think first and foremost it is about bringing everyone to the table, right? And acknowledging issues that exist and bringing the right people to the table, I think. We also identified potential areas and gaps that existed. It was mentioned that this incident didn't occur on Six Flags property, but we talked about the service road, and there's a couple of parking lots, for instance, that were identified, and we want to make sure that any security elements that we put on the table is included there as well. Because part of the challenge that we have here is when you're talking about the number of patrons, teenagers that leave this facility, is where are they going to go to? So some of the specifics that was discussed was really around crowd control, which was just brought up, around things that tried and true visibility, I think lighting, signage, things that just raise the awareness. But there's also things that we talked about that I think specifically everyone has probably kind of touched on, is around ensuring that around the health and safety of teenagers. These are, for a large part, teenagers we're talking about. So where they're going, when are they getting picked up, how are they getting dropped off? Things of that nature was discussed as well. But I'm going to reserve a lot of the specifics for when there's actually an action plan, things that we can bring to the table. What I can say is that Greg Fulner, the president, or I think he's going to be the incoming president, former general manager of Six Flags, was in attendance and was very supportive of ideas and talked about measures that they've already taken, again, based off lessons learned from last year opening day, and even since I think Mr. Fulner has to return back to Six Flags. So there are some very specific things that we will continue to put in place. Again, I'll say again, there's no silver bullet to this. So it's not like, oh yeah, we do these 3 things and everything is going to be great. I do have to mention collaborative approach, because that is one of the single most important things that we're going to do. We're going to have the right people at the table. We're going to have this recommitted approach to community and public safety. And that is the most salient point that I want to make sure is brought to everyone's attention.
Is there a timeline for when the action plan will be completed or replaced?
I think I think the director mentioned the after actions report that takes place. There's things today that was brought to the table that I don't know have been brought up before, at least not collectively. So we're going to need some time to kind of synthesize those activities, talk with other business leaders in the area. From a city perspective, there's things that we're going to have to continue to look at as it relates to things that we could put in place. So there's no specific timeline of this, because there's not a specific deadline, right? This is something that didn't start yesterday or 2 weeks ago, and it's not going to be solved tomorrow. So we're going to take, again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but we're going to take a collaborative approach to this and look at what all of those elements are. We don't want to shortchange ourselves, right? We want to make sure that every possible solution is brought to the table. We also want to make sure that it's within the right scope and scale. We don't want to go around, hitting penny nails with sledgehammers either. We want to make sure we're putting in the right approach for the right issues that we're having.
You talked about Six Flags obviously didn't show up for the news conference, but I know other parks across the country have put in, times when 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds curfews. Is that something you guys are looking at to keep some of these teens from being a babysitter for Six Flags, where these teens can't come without a chaperone? Is that something you guys discussed today? I
can tell you that's definitely something that was discussed. And we've had that discussion about inside the park and outside the park. I mentioned before that, we've talked about what other parks may be doing. I've mentioned that I spoke to mayors across the country, many of them who have parks in their cities, and how they've handled similar type situations with unaccompanied minors and lots of different activities happen in and outside the park. But I want to be clear about this too. This is not simply a Six Flags issue, right? This is not solely a Six Flags problem to solve, which is why you see all of us here and why there were so many people at the meeting today. But I can tell you that Six Flags is on board, and they were receptive to many of the things that were suggested by the police chief and others as to how to make changes going forward.